Hi there. How you doing? Downloaded some more toys for the video camera. I'll get around to showing my avatar again at some point, but right now I'm kind of having fun. Feeling a little bit better. Still got this rash all over, but oh well, you know, things could be worse. So, I know I say things or things come through here that are challenging at times, such as you don't really know who you are, no matter who you think you are, or we don't really know anything. That kind of stuff. Well, okay. How good are you at being willing to accept that you don't know anything? And that what you think you know, well, it's not to be relied on too much. By the time we get to this point, ego's taken some serious blows to its running your life. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having an ego. It's part of our interface here with 3D. The only thing is it's not supposed to be in control of things, you know? It's not supposed to be making the big decisions. You've got a heart for that. Anyhow, I have a journal from 9/23. It's not that long ago. Second one of that day. And it's Journey into Superposition and this and that. And it's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm using the little truck just for the concept of a journey. But this is one of the most primitive things about planet Earth, is this using mechanical beasties to get from here to there and having that take time. That's really unnecessary, but we're not there yet. Okay, so we're not there yet. The reality is, when we go into heart, and again, this is not your heart chakra, not your physical heart. It's more like a portal into other dimensions than it is that. It's not a 3D thing. However, for whatever reason, it seems congruent with the center of the chest. And just by placing and keeping our attention there, we get entree into this. And then eventually you learn to distinguish by sensing the feel of being in heart. And then it just gets easier and easier, you know, that's how that works. Okay, now, to poke fun at myself, when I started this one out, I thought it was going to be about language. And it only had just the littlest touch of that, and then it just went off elsewhere. So that shows you what I know. Even when I think I know something, it's more or less a joke. And as long, my friends, as long as we have a good sense of humor, hey, what the heck? It can be fun, you know. At least I'm having fun. In the middle of being miserable, you know, whatever. Two sides, same coin. All right. Darn, there was something else I wanted to say here. Oh, well, if it comes, it comes. So here's the written journal. Okay, this one starts out with language. I feel something to share within. Not that I know what it is, but hey, it's nice to at least know the subject sometimes. Going in blind is the usual way of it. Rob Bryanton has a YouTube channel called 10th Dim for the 10th dimension. He can be really enjoyable to listen to, especially if you're in kind of a mental mood. So I'm giving you a couple of links to his videos on the transcript or the written journal. One especially for the song at the end. Cool song. He's a musician too. But both of his subjects are fun too. Now, he's pretty darn nerdy. His thing is envisioning or imagining the 10th dimension. And he tries to make that practical. So be ready and be in heart and do what you can to keep your seat there as you listen. He'll likely twist your brain up one way or the other, but it's nice to start out in the right place and see if you can stick to it through the end. It's really time to dump the whole concept that consciousness either arises or is based in the brain. It is not. I don't care to try to prove that. Actually, I think I'll add another link here. Dr. Eben Alexander III is a great one to speak up for that. He was a brain surgeon who had one of the most intensive NDEs on record. Ample evidence is strewn all around the web, so you come up with what suits you. Meanwhile, I'll just share the way I see things, huh? Before we go anywhere, though, let's all remember and touch bases with the knowledge that we are not primarily 3D beings. Let's back away from the body. These bodies are more like avatars that we work with than anything that we are. So, anchor in higher self, or in heart, or in now, or whatever it is you do before we begin. I don't see consciousness based in or dependent on the brain, nor do I see anything actually stored there. The brain is a tool, much like a foot, only with fancier uses. It isn't you, it isn't me, any more than the body is. We're not that. This is an important element undergirding our freedom while here in 3D. Knowing we are not anything here. And it takes some stubborn persistence too, because we've been so deeply programmed that this is who and what we are. Does it feel strange to you? Well, then you're likely more identified with the body or the mind than maybe you realized. Could be. Society drills it into us, so it's no surprise, really. Nor is it bad or wrong. It just is. Come on, folks, everything just is. Let's just give it the right to be and quit fighting with it, huh? It's a good idea to make friends with whatever is, the way I see it. Then we can move on from there. Whereas if we refuse to accept or deal with an is thing, something that is, then we are blocking the self from moving on. Or rather, we'll be carrying baggage with us as we do. Time to recognize that sort of thing. You know, we've been tying ourselves up unnecessarily. Part of our ticket, quote unquote, out of here, as so many desire to leave 3D behind, is really to get into here. Come on, you know this is the backwards kingdom, huh? Yeah, to anchor here even deeper. Now, I hear you. What possible sense does that make when I just told you that you aren't anything that's here? Have you centered or stepped back a bit? If you haven't, then you've got your I definition, your identity, in the way. Who are you really? Well, for this journal, let's just agree that you are your higher self. Up there in spirit, up there in frequency. So, that being so, when I say it's time to really get into this, get into what's here, what I'm saying is let's bring that higher self down. Let's anchor that right here. That would be cool, don't you think? Wouldn't you just love to be your unlimited, completely unfettered divine self, right here and right now? I would. What I'm saying is to try what may be a radically different perspective out. Try it out. Instead of leaving or trying to be good so you can graduate from this 3D school or prison, if that's how you see it, and go home. Instead of that, let's get into it. And when I say home like that, I never mean a particular place. Come on, you've got bodies in every age and dimension and other planets and other beings and stuff. So what I'm saying is home in consciousness, our true home, back up in frequency instead. Now, that's pretty much how most of us have had our mental furniture arranged for the last number of lifetimes, is my educated guess. Yet, if we just step back a bit and look at it, we'd see how very linear it really is. It's that whole past, present, future thing, you know? The one that's not real anywhere but here in 3D? That one. It's not that time doesn't exist anywhere else, it's just not a limit like it is here. It's also got things all neatly arranged for vertical progression, up through the numbered dimensions, moving from less to more advanced. Well, that's the way I used to think too. While we're centered though, when we take a look at that, well, it doesn't hold up so well. Actually, it's full of crap. Ah, can you see it? Stick to heart, you'll have a better chance. Linear stuff like that doesn't survive in there. So, how about we drop all this linear, limited way of viewing things for a few moments? Yep, for it? As much as most of us want to escape the various boxes and traps that 3D has become, this shouldn't be very hard. Let's step back. No more linear, no more neatly ordered. Let all of that go. Let it be, and be just as it is. Maybe it's not like that, huh? Have you ever considered that? Let's do. Start out being multidimensional, like you are. You. We all are. When we're centered within, we're in touch with that. You know, those aha moments? They're not 3D things. They're generally the intersection between dimensions that come into our attention. Well, that's one way to say it. Come on, it's just words. And before going any farther, I want to apologize for this word, dimensions, that I'm throwing around so much. It's just a word. Don't get stuck in it. Let its definition be very flexible. Who knows? The whole concept may be incorrect. But for now, we can still use it as a ladder or a step stool to take us further along, leaving it behind when and if we ever find it no more needed in our understanding of how things are. Okay, that done. What's next? Well, if you're in heart, this one will be pretty easy. Put yourself in superposition everywhere. Right now, center within. Lock it down, just put your attention there. From heart, all you have to do is tune in, and you can realize that's where you are. Literally everywhere at once, which I called superposition, stealing a quantum physics word. So, smear the self out all over everything in cosmos. That's where you are. No kidding, you are. Own it, hey. Got it? Well, hey, I'm going light on you, just limiting your superpositionality to space. I could have taken you there in time too, but let's keep it simple for now, just space. Is this helping you to get some distance from your 3D avatar there? It should. Disidentifying from everything in 3D is a good transitional move for the major shift we're all making day by day. I laugh when people talk about waiting for 1221 or whatever. It's all over. You can see it everywhere, every day. It's a wonder. More folks don't see it, but that makes sense if they're focused out there in the future. They're not really here. Okay, who are you? Better yet, what are you, huh? You're in really good shape if you don't know. On this sort of trek, the less you know, the better, actually. Brain knowledge just gets in the way. We can go so much farther than that, but we won't if we can't disengage from body and brain. Pull out of that. Let the self float if need be. Be undefined. Be the space. How does that feel? Well, probably rather strange unless you're used to such journeying. Yeah, that's what it is. You're far more unlimited than you've likely yet dreamed you are. Well, at least in the last several dozen embodiments. Lifetimes. So, cut the ties. Just let the self be, while centered in heart, and then ask the self, who am I? See what response you get. You may be surprised. Now, we can go much farther, but let's pause right here for the original question or idea of the brain being the source or origin of consciousness. How does that look to you right now? Does it make any sense? I hope not. It's frankly crazy. An idea generated by minds tied down firmly to their 3D habitat, so much so that they think they are that. Poor dears, if only they knew, right? Well, this is not to make fun of nor disparage the great minds of science. It's all a very relative thing, you see. They were great in the small arena of 3D, but maybe they were afraid to spread their wings and really fly. No problem. They all will one day. Meanwhile, this is our day, so let's move on. Language isn't something that's even needed in the higher dimensions. It's all telepathic, and it gets even deeper the higher up we go. We are substance and mind of the other guy up there. We know him and what he or she would say, like we know the self very well. So this language thing is a way of slowing that down a great deal and spreading it out, making it linear, adding the whole past, present, future element into the communication. Well, that's absent up above. Do you get the feel of this? How are you doing? Leaving your mind and its comments aside, it's a pretty good tactic for taking this ride. Fear or anxiety or uncomfortability may rear its head. Well, don't run away when it does. Do what you can to just sit there and look at it. Feel it, feel into it, see what's underneath. What's making you anxious? Hey, self-knowledge is priceless and not always comfortable. When I say you are in superposition everywhere, I really mean it. It's not woo-woo, believe it or not. Many can't even let go enough to take a ride like this, but you can. Most likely, or you wouldn't be here taking this in. Be more like a balloon or the air in that than a body, a mind. Better yet, do as Eckhart suggests and see yourself as the space. You contain it all, including the body. The body doesn't contain you. See how that pretzels the mind? You know, just let go of the old ideas. Let go of what you thought you knew. How good are you at doing that? The one who comes face to face with the realization that she doesn't really know anything doesn't trust all she thought she knew. That one is wise. We don't know squat. Now, the mind does what it can using the body-brain affair to put its picture of reality together. But if you're really alive, then that picture is always moving, shifting, rearranging, isn't it? Well, don't let it get or stay static for very long. You can get lost that way. So you really do exist literally everywhere. Just by moving your attention somewhere, you are there. Now, it's not that you have to go there either. You're already there and everywhere, so it's instant. Got it? Faster than light for sure. You're already there. We're in the process of dumping. Well, first discovering and then dumping a bunch of the limits and constraints we used to live and operate under. Do you feel it? How you doing? It is in the letting go of what you thought you knew that you find this freedom to be everywhere. It's something that must be claimed, however. It won't come up to you and tell you, "Hey buddy, did you know you got it all wrong? Here's how things really are." So don't expect that. And that's overly mental, that approach. You're not that. In heart, you see, or will one day, that you have access to all of your deeper knowing as well. Ultimately, you're not just everywhere. You also know pretty much everything. You are that. I wouldn't try accessing that first, though. Better to be a bit more incremental with it. And that is, if you want it to stick. We'll get way out with it one day, but let's find a cozy balance between being way out there and being anchored and a bit more orderly. Neither one nor the other will do. It must be both. When you get to exploring within, you'll also discover that you contain both poles of everything. Even though they be or seem mutually exclusive, that doesn't matter. You contain both. Paradox is the way things seem to be ordered or something. Anyway, it plays a great part in it all. So leave your old ideas about logic off to the side. Pick them up again later. They'll just get in the way right now. It's not that we're abandoning everything that ever made sense. In a way we are, but mostly we're not. We're just discovering how we can contain all of that, but not be limited to it. We can expand way the heck out beyond all that linear stuff. It no longer presents as this or that. It's this and that. You'll see. Don't let it worry you. If it's true, you'll find it out. If not, you won't. No big deal. Don't trust me in this, by the way. Trust you. I can be a sort of tour guide for such adventures, but when you return, it's you'll be living with. Best make good friends with that. This is more of integrating and identifying, hopefully, with higher self. You'll come back to the 3D being there, but you won't be the same ever again. Not if you really made the trip. Are you still game? Well, I hate to tell you, but if you've been really into this, then you've already changed. It's an awesome sort of change. I hope you like it. It can be darned uncomfortable at times. No one is particularly joyful initially at having the rug pulled out from under. When you link up with your inner core, though, well, there's also a child in there. We're all delightfully childlike under the masks. So we can easily get into such stuff. and it gets more comfortable as we go. Truly it does. So, how you doing? Do you feel perhaps a bit dizzy? That could be normal and quite okay. It just shows you're a true adventurer, not afraid to push off from the shore. I'm going to start bringing you back now, so stick to heart. Don't try to anchor down into anything. Hold everything ever so lightly. Best too not to try to figure things out. Your mind will probably try just from habit, not able to help itself. I can promise, however, that all you'll do is slow the self down that way. Brain and mind don't get this, and no amount of trying will make it so. We're moving into a, higher level, maybe even a different sort of intelligence. This is higher self stuff. Had you forgot, by the way, that you're divine? It's one thing to say that, quite another to begin exploring it, owning it. Well, that's what we've been doing here, exploring our divine nature, our unlimitedness, our total freedom. I'll suggest you make good friends with divine balance. I find balance itself to be a divine attribute, so I capitalize it. Balance between the far and the near, between the high and the low, between the in and the out, between the self and the other and the one. Balance in all things. It will help keep you at least feeling sane in the midst of all this. One thing is certain, and that's that our current world is quite insane. People are thinking they can throw morals, ethics, and caution to the winds and do whatever pleases them or makes them rich. Well, they can, of course, do those things, but not without a price. The sort of price you and I don't want to have to pay. We've come a long way, my friends. Journeys like this will come easier and easier to us, and we'll venture farther and farther from comfort and safety as we take them. And sometimes they'll leave us quite befuddled for a time. My advice is just to be patient with that. Just be and be at peace in the midst. It will sort itself out. I'm going to step out of the journal here and report something. Some of you will wind up going out of body and so on. Some of you are probably quite good at that. I just want to give you a heads up about certain beings that Robert Monroe ran into. Now and again, in his journeys out of body, you will find beings that will kind of grab a hold of you energetically and try to tell you that they're your creator and that you're supposed to worship them and that kind of thing. Just be ready for a bunch of beings that are full of shit, okay? Don't trust. Just because it's higher dimensional doesn't mean it's perfect. The very best thing you can do for yourself, well, if we can do anything at all, is to stay centered. It's from heart that sense will be made of the whole thing. It's a higher level of sense, though, not the simple, linear, logic kind. So, be alert for that. Your mental furnishings are getting a good rearranging and sorting out. You're in charge. So much of what you thought quite valuable, even sensible before, well, you'll see and watch a good bit of it going out the door. Wave to it on its way out. Bye-bye. Don't hang on. That will only set you back. Remember, hold everything ever so lightly. No grasping and demanding this or that of life. That's not wise. Holds you back. Not that there's anything wrong with being held back either. It's just the proper thing for those on that path that doesn't lead in the transcendent direction just yet. All have their time for this, just not all at the same time, of course. Another thing I found that comes of such adventuring is to discover a deep and renewed respect for one and all, and for the very different ways of seeing things. Flexible perspective. I found a while back that they're not wrong at all, just different. I don't find a right and a wrong anywhere I look on my journeyings. That's more the old-time 3D linear stuff, right and wrong. So just keep an open mind so that the breezes of heaven are welcome there. See what they bring. Have fun playing with whatever it is. Let us open our hearts both to the self and to every other being that is while we're at it. Hey, why not, right? Learn first to love the self and treat it right, and soon you'll find yourself treating all others like that. It's really quite enjoyable. It goes from micro to macro, from within to without. May you find as much joy and delight as I do and more, so that at times your tears water the front of your shirt. Tears of joy and delight, not just of pain and challenge, though those will come too. It's all about balance, remember? That'll keep your boat on an even keel. Balance, joy, and beauty everywhere. Soon you'll be seeing it like that too, at least that's my hope for you. But you go for what suits you. Just stop by now and then for a little empowerment journey with one of these journals. Some of them are frankly nutty or silly. Once upon a time, I'd have been quite embarrassed to put them out there, but that's barely real for me anymore. Change is. I like that. How about you? Namaste.